Hey guys, so in this video I want to talk about how to find and live your calling. I think each and every one of us has a certain calling, a certain purpose, if you will, in being here. And it doesn't mean you have to live it. It doesn't mean that it falls into your lap. But it means that in living this, it will take you to your most expansive, meaningful, fulfilling life. The life that is most enriching for you. It's like hitting the sweet spot in life. And I've found that there are four things that will contribute to you being able to live this calling and step into that life that, is the most fulfilling one for you. And it all starts with having the belief or the understanding that some greater intelligence put us here, that we are connected to something greater than our own limited mind-body vessel, this character that we're playing in life. We're all playing a character. It's our ego. It's our self-concept. And it's like a wave in the ocean. I've used this analogy before. When a wave appears in the ocean, you can see it, and it might appear to be separate to some people, but you can see that it is actually coming from the ocean itself. The same is true with us. We are a wave temporarily appearing in this ocean of consciousness. And so often we become so identified with the wave that we become disconnected from the whole that we are actually part of, the ocean of consciousness. Call it God or source or whatever you want to call it, infinite consciousness. And in being disconnected from that, in identifying with this ego, we often try to control life. We rely on our own limited understanding. We try to force things. We attach to things. And we live in identified, and we live in the play of life, if you will, rather than observing the play of life from this higher consciousness. It doesn't mean that you don't live life or participate in life. It just means that you're not as identified with it. So in understanding that we are just a wave in the ocean, we can understand as well with that ocean of consciousness, that infinite awareness, God, has put us here with some sort of purpose, some sort of gift, passion, strengths that we can live by and use to serve the flow of life, to serve others. And others means that you're serving consciousness itself. You help uplift consciousness through these gifts, through these passions. The universe is always expanding. It's growing, and it wants to expand. And if we can align ourselves with that universal intelligence, we expand our own consciousness, but then we help to expand the collective consciousness because we're not separate from it. The whole rises when we elevate ourselves in our own lives through alignment, through connecting with the source and the truth of what we are. So the first part of living your calling, if you will, or having this very meaningful and purposeful life is having this basic understanding that you're not this limited ego identity. You're more than that. And being able to connect with that spiritual essence that you are through self-awareness, through self-observation. Meditation is probably my favorite way of returning to this. It's just being with yourself, with your breath, and watching yourself without identifying, judging, or attaching to or pushing things away. It's the foundation of connecting with self, or God, if you will. And through connecting with yourself, you begin to see what those intuitive calls are pulling you to do. Because when you connect with God or awareness, You can better hear the callings of your own heart. There's a really great quote, I think it's by Rumi, and it says, the quieter you are, the more you can hear. And I know that's been very true in my own life. The more I can declutter my mind by being still, by not always needing to stimulate myself, the more in tune I become with awareness, with intuition, with my passions, with those calls, what I feel pulled towards. But if our mind is so noisy and chaotic all the time, and we're constantly needing to strive and be busy and stimulate our minds and all these things, it's very difficult to get in touch with ourselves and hear what direction we're pulled to move in. So the first step is connecting with yourself, but then if something doesn't light you up, you have to say no to it. This can be very scary because sometimes it's something that is comfortable for us. It's comfortable. And I've said this before, our nervous system will prefer a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. And sometimes those things, actually a lot of times, those things that we feel called to do, we feel like we just want to move in that direction. We're not sure how it'll all play out or what it looks like, and that's the scary part. But we want to move in that direction. It's scary. It doesn't make sense to the logical thinking mind sometimes. Well, how am I going to make money? How is it all going to work out? How am I going to be able to do this or that? Or, because quite often we tend to chase things externally. The external is what guides us in our lives. Making more money, having more material possessions, a bigger house, a car, this or that, whatever it is. Many of us are guided from the outside. But to be led from within is to find and build that true purposeful life for yourself. So being able to say no to that which you don't feel aligned with, that doesn't really light you up, that you don't feel called to do, is the first thing. Because as long as that takes up space in our life, it's very difficult for something new to come in, something that can be more fulfilling for us, more aligned with our authentic selves. To consciously do something that we don't feel aligned with is not living an authentic life. And what I've come to realize is the greatest rewards come when you are living authentically, when you're living in alignment with your passions, your strengths, your gifts. When you were put on this planet, you're like a perfectly wrapped basket with all the things that you need to live the life that you can live, maybe the life that you were meant to live. Like I said, it's the personality traits that you have, it's the strengths that you have, the gifts that you have, the talents that you have, the fears that you have. Your fears weren't given to you by accident. They're also showing you the way. The passions that you have, all of these things did not happen by accident. They're there showing you the way to this life that you're seeking ultimately. And yet we get so disconnected from it when we are living in the world and of the world. As it says in the Bible, be in the world but not of it. It's to live in the play, be part of the play, but not be identified with it. To be led from within instead. And through that, you start to walk the spiritual path. You get to be in touch with the deeper purpose for your life that the ocean is guiding you in. It's like when those waves in the ocean are moving with the flow of the entire ocean. we have to do the same thing if we really want to live that purposeful life. So part of that is saying no to the things that aren't aligned with you, and that's often very scary. Doesn't mean you have to uproot your whole life, you know? But sometimes what it means is maybe taking a bit of a step back so that you can create more space for the things that really are aligned with you. And you have to obviously do a bit of a check in your life, you know? Like I said, uprooting your life when you've got a mortgage, a family to provide for, and all these other things, that can be very daunting. And it's a balance of having trust and having faith that you will be provided for in following your heart. And following your heart is saying no to some things so you can say yes to others, as well as taking an ecology check of your life. You know, how can I do both for the time being until I can create the life that I want? And I'll give you an example in my own life. When I was going through post-secondary, I always thought I wanted to do either sports medicine, physiotherapy, chiropractic, or osteopathy, some sort of manual therapy or work with the body. I always found that very fascinating. And so when I finished my kinesiology degree, I was personal training, and I kind of saw that as a bit of a placeholder for me for the time being. I never saw myself doing personal training. I always saw myself doing something else. And I decided to apply to this osteopathy program. So I got into this program, and mind you, it's kind of funny looking back. This was 8 years ago now. I had never done any meditating. I didn't have any of these spiritual outlooks, if you want to call them that. It was very different from the way that I am now. And this osteopathy program was spiritual in essence. And it talked about meditating, and it talked about mindfulness and stuff. And I was so turned off by that. I was very structured, very rooted in having the 3 steps to curing back pain, all that kind of stuff. Very kind of closed-minded, if you will. So, you know, I wasn't really sure if it was for me. But more than that, I didn't see myself standing next to a table for, 8 to 10 hours a day, and that being my life, that being my career. I just knew that wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't know exactly what I did want to do. I knew it was probably something more business related, more entrepreneurial, more dynamic, if you will. So I'm not just, standing next to a table or, working with one person at a time, but maybe talking to more people, being around more people, having more diversity and versatility in what I'm doing, to be able to leverage and expand all those types of things. I didn't know what that was. So without having any clue really, I decided to withdraw from that osteopathy program. And it was scary. I'm like, okay, well, I thought I was going to be doing this for years now, something after my kinesiology degree, whether it was a master's, whether it was this, whatever it was. And here I am now doing personal training when it was not what I planned on, and not really knowing what I'm going to do next. But if I didn't take that step, my life wouldn't have unfolded the way it has now. And I can say, looking back and where I am now, that the life I'm living is much more fulfilling, purposeful, enriching than it would have been if I would have just chosen to stay in that program because I was too scared of not to say no to it, because I didn't know what was going to happen. I had to say no to that to be able to find and walk the path and the unfolding of the life that really is and has been more fulfilling and purposeful for me. So saying no is really important to following your heart, to following your intuition, even though it's scary. The second thing that I found is playing to your strengths. I think a lot of times we look outside of ourselves, we look at other people, and we say, oh man, that person is really good at this. I wish I was like them. We look at other people for their strengths, wishing we could be more like them, without realizing that the gold mine is within us. You have so many unique skills and gifts and talents that other people look at you for, but you're so busy looking at other people that you don't see them in yourself. It's like it's right in front of your face, but you're too busy looking out there. If we could look at ourselves and think about what really comes naturally to me, what do I feel called to do? What am I passionate about? Usually these things show us where our strengths are. And what I've come to realize is playing to your strengths is extremely powerful, because those strengths, again, they weren't given to you by accident. It's part of that flow of the ocean. And that flow is trying to lead you through the path of non-resistance to follow that which comes naturally to you, that which you're good at. I believe that if you do what you're passionate about and you do what you're good at, if you do what you're good at, you're probably passionate about it. And if you do what you're passionate about, you're probably going to be good at it. And if you do what you're good at and if you follow your passions, you're going to do a good job at it. You're going to serve people in a way that you wouldn't otherwise be able to if you're doing something you're not good at or you don't like. You'll be miserable going to a job that you hate every day. So, or doing something just because you're trying to make more money or you are making good money. That's a miserable way to life. You will trade your soul for a piece of paper, or now it's not even a piece of paper, it's a number on a screen. So playing to your strengths is very, very important to walk that path of discovering what your calling is in life and living it, truly living it. I came to realize that my strengths were working with people, talking to people, using my voice to, try and uplift or inspire or empower people, storytelling, different things like that. And it took me a long time to really lean into that. For a long time, I kind of resisted coaching or personal training because I always thought I was going to do something else. Doesn't mean I can't do something else if I wanted to, but I've come to realize that it was that gold mine within myself that I didn't see as a gold mine because it came too naturally to me, because I wanted it to be something else. But the more I could lean into that strength of mine, of coaching or speaking or whatever that was and has been, the more expansive my life became. The more successful I became externally, but the more fulfilled I became, which was even more important. So playing to your strengths and figuring out what those are, instead of looking outside of you to see, well, this person's good at that, that person did this and they became successful, I'm going to go and do that. It's like, what are your strengths? What are you good at? Develop those, because that truly is the gold mine. Don't get caught up looking at other people wishing you'd be like them, because I can promise you there's probably people around somewhere that look at you thinking the same thing. So the next thing that kind of ties into that is follow what does light you up. And sometimes what lights you up also scares the hell out of you. And I know exactly what that feels like. For example, I can remember I really wanted to start posting these types of videos on social media. And it scared me to death to be able to do that, to even think about doing that. I put it off and I put it off and I put it off. And then finally one day I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And it probably took me a few hours to post a 1-minute video on Instagram because I had to keep on redoing it or be a perfectionist about it or whatever. And that was kind of the start of it for me, was facing that fear. Facing that fear, but moving into the thing that really lit me up, the thing that I really felt called to do. I don't think that the things that we feel inspired by or lit up by were given to us by accident. It's showing you the way. It's like, imagine if you were lost in some dark forest, didn't know which way to go, and all of a sudden you saw a path light up. And it was very, very dim at first, but you just saw a couple of maybe like little fireflies or something like that showing you the way. And then you start walking and following them. And then the more you followed them, the brighter that path became, and the more illuminated it became, and the more clear that path became. I've found that that's the same thing with following the things that light you up. When you start embarking on this journey, it probably won't make sense. It will be very scary. And the same way that what lights you up wasn't given to you by accident, what scares you was not given to you by accident. That is also showing you the path to your most expansive life. But the fear is the barrier, the mountain you need to climb to live that life. Yet so often we allow that fear to control us. We allow it to hold us back. We feel the call. We feel like, oh, I need to go in this direction. And then we kind of look up and we see these massive mountains of fear and this very heavy fog that is fear. And it's like, well, I can't move in that direction. I don't know where the path goes. And plus I have to get over those mountains in order to move in that direction. So I'm going to stay exactly where I am. Again, familiar hell is more comfortable than an unfamiliar heaven. The key is to be able to regulate yourself, sit with yourself as the conscious adult in your body amidst that threat response. Regulate, soothe, and move in that direction anyways. Know that you don't really have anything to lose in life. You can't really lose. I did another video on that, and I think it'll help you if you're struggling with that. But the key is to move into that direction in spite of what that fear tells you. Because it's the hero's journey of conquering yourself. That's what the whole thing is. It's not necessarily about what happens out there. It's about who you become and what you need to overcome to liberate yourself. It's ultimately what it is. It's liberation. So following what lights you up is very, very crucial, which is usually tied to your strengths, which is usually tied to your passions. And in following that will lead you into some of your greatest fears. And none of it is by accident. It is all by design. It's the spiritual path. It's the journey to self-actualization, if you will. It's the flow of the ocean pushing you, guiding you. So, following what lights you up is very important. If I allowed my fear of, I don't know what's going to happen if I don't finish this osteopathy program, or what are people going to think of me if I post this video on Instagram, I would not have the life that I have now. And I love my life right now. And I'm confident that if you follow these steps, you will also fall in love with the life that you have. It doesn't mean every day is this blissful heaven. It just means that you feel like you're living for something greater than yourself. You have this deep sense of meaning and purpose, this mission. And that's something that money can't give you. But the funny thing is, the money comes when you serve that which is greater than yourself. And that's what this is all about. It's not about living and identifying and serving your own self-concept. It's about moving beyond that by touching base with self, spirit, God, and serving that by following the flow, by moving into what lights you up, by following your strengths, by following how you were being guided in life. And the only way you can touch base with that is if you can actually touch base with your spiritual essence, which is what I talked about at the beginning. So if I never posted that video, if I allowed those fears to hold me back, you wouldn't be listening to this video right now. So the last thing that will help you find and live your own unique calling is not worrying about how it's all going to work out. I think so often we get caught up really worrying about, okay, if I follow this passion, how am I going to make money? Like I said, how is it all logically going to pan out? We need to know the path before the path even unfolds. And that's unfortunately not how it works. We are rewarded for trusting in that which is greater than ourselves, not leaning on our own understanding. It's like that Bible verse, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, and he will make your paths straight. I remember that verse, I'm not a religious person. I don't subscribe to any one religion. I grew up Christian, so that's why I'm familiar with some of these Bible verses. But that always, I found that very inspiring, that something greater is guiding me and something greater is guiding you. And in fact, there's no separation between me or you. We're just two waves in the same ocean for the time being. And the key is to trust that flow, not leaning on your own logical understanding, the fear-based conditioning. How is this all going to work out for me? How am I going to make money? Then tied to all of the external worldly things. Got to move beyond that. Living your calling is not necessarily physical. It's spiritual. And it expresses itself in the physical. It's like it's brought down through you, and it's your job to bring it into the physical form. It's a very creative endeavor. Doesn't mean that you have to be doing art necessarily, but this is a creative endeavor of you to live this calling and create it and bring it into the physical form, into this 3D reality. And again, one of the biggest pieces that tends to hold us back is needing to know how it's all going to work out. It's not our job to know how it's going to work out. It's our job to follow the calling. And what I've realized is when I can take the step forward with courage of following this passion, following my strengths, following what comes naturally to me, this inner calling, saying no to the things that I feel aren't authentic or aligned with me or the direction that I feel called to go in. That is when opportunities come your way. That's when the ideas come, the inspiration comes. It's like this greater intelligence, God or infinite awareness, whatever you want to call it, starts to illuminate the path for you. And then it shows you the next step. The key is to take action on it, not hesitate. You will be rewarded when you take action, because that is you're showing God that you will and you are trusting, you are moving in that direction. And then more things come to you. The abundance starts flowing. Things start happening in a way that you could never comprehend. Coincidences, synchronicities, all of it. I've seen it firsthand in my life. And you realize that there's magic in it all, in a way that you could never have organized with your own planning. And you look back on your life and you're like, wow, it's crazy how that all worked out. I'm so glad I did that. And not only that, but you are fulfilled because you are living a life that is true to you. And that is one of the number one regrets of the dying. There is a palliative care nurse, and I'm pretty sure she wrote a book, and it was the biggest regrets of the dying, something along that effect, or something along those lines. And she found that the number one regret of the dying, when she interviewed these people, was that they didn't live a life true to themselves. That they wished that they didn't live it for other people, that fear didn't hold them back. And it's funny because when I talk to different people, whether it's clients or friends or just people in general, and they look back on their lives and it's like, hey, what do you wish would have been different? I wish I wouldn't have been so scared. I wish I wouldn't have allowed that to hold me back so much. Because in hindsight, you realize that it was so small in the grand scheme of things. And it is. It seems like it's this big scary thing, but it's nothing. It's like in the movies when, you see this big scary shadow and then it ends up being like a little mouse that walks out from behind the corner. And that tiny little mouse or that tiny little thing that is seeming very big in your mind is the thing that will hold you back from the life that is possible and maybe even meant for you, in the way that you can serve and impact other people and live a fulfilling life for yourself. None of this is easy, but I don't think it's supposed to be. It's not easy in the sense that it's not scary. You don't have any resistance along the way. You don't have to work on yourself along the way. This is the path to you growing and healing and doing the inner work. Because you have to do the inner work of regulating your nervous system to move into these fears, to navigate these different challenges that come up along the way. It's not like when you start following your heart, life just becomes easy. But it does mean that you start living that more fulfilling life for yourself, for who you can be. The things that come across your path are the things that are helping you become the person you can be. Facing yourself. It's giving you exactly what you need to overcome yourself. It's the shadow work. Seeing out what's out there as a reflection of you so you can elevate. There's no books that are necessarily needed. They can help, but everything you need comes on this path. And the funny thing is, it's the path to your fulfilling life, and it's the path to you impacting others and serving others to the best of your ability and uplifting the world in your own unique way. It's funny. I was traveling a few years ago. I was in Scandinavia. So I was in Oslo and I went to this little food market. And at one of the little booths, it was called Meraki or Meraki. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but it said underneath it that basically it was an expression of your soul, your work being an expression of your soul. And that really stuck with me. And that's exactly what it is. I looked it up. It's Meraki is Meraki is a modern Greek word that loosely translates to doing something with soul, creativity, or love. It means putting a piece of your essence, passion, or undivided attention into your work or any task you undertake. And I think that is the key to living a fulfilling and impactful life. Of following your calling, discovering your calling, and living your calling. And I really hope these things help you, because these are things that I wish someone would have told me, years ago. Maybe when I was doing the whole osteopathy thing, or even before that, maybe even in high school. It would have helped me really navigate life and finding what my purpose is in life, if there is such thing. I think the main purpose is discover what I said at the beginning. We're not this ego. We're not this self-concept. We are connected and an expression of God itself, like a wave in the ocean. So just to reiterate, if you want to start finding what your calling is, you've got to say no to the things that you feel aren't aligned with you. You've got to say no to the things that don't light you up. You've got to play to your strengths. Find out what that gold mine is within yourself, because there is a gold mine within you. It's the things that come naturally to you, those callings. It's following those callings. It's following the things that light you up. And sometimes it's subtle, and sometimes it's like fireworks going off. But when you follow that, you'll be rewarded. And it's trusting the process. It's not leaning on your own understanding along the way, because that will just smother your potential. It's like that quote by Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting. You're too scared to take the first step because you're not sure what will happen 10 miles down the road. That's true of a lot of us. It's been true of my own life, and it held me back for a long time. And if I could go back, I wouldn't allow that to hold me back anymore, knowing what I know now in hindsight. So, hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next video.